that's a better way to determine whether or not it's a full-time or part-time position. This is a tough one on top of page 10 because I don't know where the person's going to go. As you know, the district office is pretty full. Could it be done remotely? Yes. But will that create more emails? Will that create more messenger service? Will that create more paperwork than it should? Again, this is another one where you want to look at available rooms. If there's anything on this campus, would be ideal. But the amount of technology they're going to need to do their job, to print purchase orders, how to scan and send stuff back, copying for copies back to the schools, all of those are really critical. Second recommendation on that page is developing a purchasing program flowchart. So if somebody gets really confused, okay, I'm done, now where does it go? That flowchart has to be clear, and it has to be part of the in-service that I make as the final recommendation. Because every year, as a part of the back to school for the staff, not teachers and everybody necessarily, but every year there should be a refresher of how the purchasing process works. Any questions so far? I used fewer P's, I'm starting to stumble more. Page 11, emails. Well, I don't know what the term nowadays is, but gave me with a spoon. Holy cow. I walked through, I did not look at the superintendents, that's not my right. But I looked at a lot of administrators, and some of them had more than 100 unopened. That's bad, but understandable, depending on how you're using your email. And a lot of people that are very disappointed with what's not happening because, well, I sent an email to them yesterday and I haven't heard back. And I look at the person and say, and what are you going to do about it? Well, I sent the email. No, do something about it. Don't just fist and fuzzy go, oh, they don't like me. Well, I'm going to go old-fashioned on it. Pick up the phone and say, hey, did you get my email? What can we do? And here's another one. I'm so revolutionary, I'm sorry. Why send an email in the first place? Does it take longer to type an email or to pick up the phone and call them? Yes, you guys are busy. Yes, it might go to voicemail, but take a shot. See if you can get through to them and talk to them and bring closure to it. That's one less email, or in most cases, emails, because they sent it, you replied, it wasn't clear, tried again. You got 8 emails just from one incident, which may have been solved with an email, or with a phone call, I'm sorry. Provide additional in-service training. Have your IT department. There's a lot of neat things that 1 or 2 of you guys are doing right, but not everybody's doing it. One of the things I really like from the superintendent, I hope you don't mind if I keep talking about you, but she has a system where if she's sending out an email, she can time it so it doesn't hit immediately. It can be delayed so that the person doesn't come into work the next morning. So good, I got 50 more. That's not normally the comment you want. But what happens is there's so many emails coming through that the in-service training will say, okay, do you know how to use a folder? Do you know how to use all of the little specialties where they can actually just put them away. I blew away a board meeting. I did a training on communication with a board meeting staff one time, and I said, I encourage, because they were complaining about how many emails they had. I said, do you have another folder? He said, what's another folder? I said, that's what you're going to put all of the ones you don't want to read right now. That's a read another day. Probably won't. But it got off the screen and you're not staring at it. Because what kind of anxieties do it? Oh, they don't create anxieties at all, do they? So that's my recommendation on emails. Just don't just say, oh, I sent it, now what? Go ahead and follow up. Don't let it eat at you, because it's probably slowing down the rest of the work you're doing. Summer school is a pretty short recommendation. but the need is there. Every year you hire somebody to be the summer school secretary, but it immediately pulls her away from the regular school year, so the other person has to pick up. If you try and do 12-month employees for all 4 of them, that would help out keeping a nice, smooth transition between summer school and back to school. Because that person will already be there to start setting up for the new year also. And definitely designate one of the persons as full-time summer school only, so that they can take time during the regular day to do summer school activities. Finally, school health technician. Nope, this wasn't part of the study, but it came up big time. The problem is the school health technician has their own office and everything, but the current one is not bilingual. Well, I've seen too many of these horror stories in my experience. And what can happen is that someone will try to speak Spanish that they shouldn't be. The need for being bilingual is not, how do we have it? The job description currently says that they should be bilingual in Spanish preferred. No, it's a given. And I go so far as to say that any position that has contact with students on a daily basis must be bilingual, because that way there's no confusion in the conversation, and currently the school health technician drags out one of the secretaries to do all the translations. So taking away from their job to do that person's job, and once they hand it to that secretary, many times it's like, okay, I can do something else. No help, they stay here to learn, because many times that secretary stuck with that student, and that's a bad word, I know, it's not stuck with it. They have to handle that from down out until the kid is either picked up by your mom and dad, or something is done for them. So anyway, revise the job description to show that they are bilingual. Second recommendation, I have to bite my tongue on, because it has so much to do with the person that's in the position. So many of us are bugging our bosses, what else do you want me to do? If there's other things the school health technician can do, put it in their job description. Whether it's helping the nurse do folders or whatever, keep it nice and clean, make sure they understand what they should do. And if they don't have anything to do, hello principal, what can I do? Because they shouldn't say, oh man, I'm done for the day. Because it makes it look bad for the other people in the office. And number 3 I already talked about, is revising other job descriptions to include bilingual. I'm not commenting on compensation or anything. I'm thinking of the kids that should feel comfortable that any time they walk into that office, there'll be somebody there that knows what their needs are. Finally, I can't say that top line strongly enough. You guys got to be so proud of your staff. What they've been able to accomplish with their current staffing level somehow, and what they're still doing has just been amazing. But in order to even improve this more, I think the purchasing position would help in streamlining, coordinating the whole process, and giving more time to the support staff to help their administrative staff during the day. And believe it or not, this is my last report of my 15-year career. So, any questions for you or me?
I have a question.
Please.
Like you said, like talking about this position about for purchasing, I've heard that from other teachers that when they come here, when they request something, they get it like right away. And for other schools, you have to wait a long time. Now, is that because those schools don't have a purchasing person, or is that just the money, the funds, or what's?
It's a great question that can't be answered by me right now,
Yeah.
because I don't know the districts that can do that. A lot of districts, one I retired from, we had online purchasing where everything was totally automated, where it would go from the teacher desk, to a secretary, to a principal, to the business office, purchased and back, automatically.
And they would take that off.
Huh?
It would not be delayed fast, right?
Um,
Pretty fast, those
If we can get it that fast, I'm afraid there's something even like a credit card. Like they're going to Amazon and saying, oh, I don't know, I got the district credit card, I can get it quick. I would never approve that. But, to get things fast, it's all coordination. And it depends on how many steps are in it. You know, if it's something the superintendent wants to get it tomorrow, yeah, that's a good one. But if it's one of the teachers, it's got to wait one more day.
Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and effort that you put into this and to meeting with the team. Just for the board next steps, this is very similar to the special ed report staffing study that we did. We will take his recommendations and we will decide what will best fit our needs as we move forward. So then in the future months, we will come back to you with recommendations, pull from the recommendations that he made. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to Oregon.
6.3 Citizens Bond Oversight Committee report.
So I'm giving this report. The report is uploaded to Board Docs. It's 74 pages. I'm not going to go through all 74 pages. I'm sure you've read every line item. But this is a report that we must give once a year to go through the fiscal year from 2022 through 2023. So everything that I'm reporting occurred between July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. So page 6.
Good luck in Middletown. Thank you.
Is the audit summary. Nope. There we go. Okay. So just like with our regular budget, we do an audit, and our auditor comes in and pulls documents to see where we are. So they tested $485,074 of non-personnel expenditures from Measure A, because remember we have 2 loans. And Measure A was the bond that was passed in 2010. And they tested $175,000 of non-personnel expenditures from Measure B, which is the bond we passed in 2022. And just like all of our other audits, there are 0 findings. So we're very proud of the work that there are no financial findings and no findings or recommendations related to local school construction bonds for the fiscal year ending June 30th. On page 8, it talks about the bond projects that were covered or occurred over that fiscal year. So the projects that were completed were at the elementary school. We relocated the PE portable in the fall of 23. We resurfaced the parking lot. We did a water line repair. We installed the shade structure. And then we finished the art docent office and storage. For the junior senior high school, we did the black box theater conversion to a classroom. Our ongoing projects consist of the riverbank restoration through design, kitchen modernization through design, classroom modernization, which was the early discussions, all at the elementary school. And then junior, senior high school, we started designing the STEM building, and then we started conversations about designing our field replacement. So our upcoming projects are just that. In June of 24, we're supposed to start construction on the riverbank restoration at the elementary school, and this summer we're going to start construction on modernization of our classrooms at the elementary school. And Chris will have one of the action items related to the modernization contract. And then at the junior senior high school, we are starting construction within the next 3 weeks. PG&E came out today. I'm stealing your thunder. I'll let you, we're so excited, I'll let you repeat it. But we will be moving forward at the end of the month, and this summer you'll be able to actually see some changes to the STEM building. And then we're excited that in the late winter of 24, early winter of 2025, we'll be able to start construction on our field replacement. So we'll be finishing up our design for that. And then on page 11, it talks about the major takeaways from the 22-23 fiscal year. So Measure B, we issued our first portion of those bonds on February 7th of 2023 with a 5% interest rate. The STEM building project at the junior senior high school started design of early 2023 with construction to start in spring, summer of 2024. Our elementary school portable classrooms and parking lot repairs were completed during the 22-23 fiscal year. And then during the 22-23 reporting period, staff was planning for the STEM building demolition ceremony that took place in February 24. So this is just a rough overview of the things that occurred over the last fiscal year related to those bond measures. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. 6.4 LCAP survey results and next steps.
So Cynthia's going to switch over to the reports. They were uploaded to Board Docs, so if you have access to that, you can see. So the first page, these are one-pagers that we're going to push out to our families that are related to the results from our LCAP survey. This year we did a different version of the LCAP survey. Up till this year we'd done a Google survey and then we'd been analyzing the results ourselves. This year we implemented what's called Thought Exchange. So there was an open-ended question where people got to type in responses and then people got to rate them. And then there was our standard questions that people did Likert scale on. And so this year we had 640 responses, which is up from 622 in the past. We had 333 people responded related specifically to the elementary school, which is up from 284, and we had 335 related to the junior senior high school, which is down slightly from 354. We had 389 students respond, 150 family members, and 89 staff members. One of the main things that we asked this year, because we're getting ready to move into a new 3-year cycle for the LCAP, is whether or not stakeholders felt that we needed to keep our current goals, if we needed to modify them, or if we wanted to change them altogether. And for all 3 goals, over 50%, 54, 54, and 57 respectively, stated that no change needed for those 3 goals. So we're going to maintain our 3 goals as we move forward towards the next 3 years. We will also add another goal, which I'll talk about separately, but related to those 3 that we're going to continue. Then we took the top rated thoughts and organized them based on the 3 goals. And so you can see on that first page, those top rated thoughts are district-wide. And so again, the LCAP is written for the district. It's not isolated for each individual school. But each individual school may make adjustments based on the thoughts that they had for their individual site. So there's page 2 is for the elementary school and page 3 is for the junior senior high school. So the top rated thoughts related to goal 1 were that we were praised for the academic performance of our schools, citing effective teaching methods, a variety of electives, and the provision of necessary learning materials. The suggested improvements were related to consistent use of curriculum across the grade levels, better communication among staff, and make learning more relevant to our students' future goals, which is really, for me, it was really exciting to see those comments because that's related to the work that we're doing with Transcend in terms of having relevance, that the learning that's happening in our classrooms is relevant for our students outside of the 4 walls of their individual classrooms. And then they also want an increased focus on math and language. So we still have some more digging to determine what does that actually mean, but these are the top rated thoughts related to academics. For school environment, we're perceived as positive with respondents appreciating the cleanliness of the schools, the supportive staff, and obviously the sense of community that we have here in Calistoga. Suggested improvements for addressing student behavior and better handling of discipline issues, including better supervision, more safety measures, and a stronger focus on bullying prevention. So we'll be focusing on that as we move forward with our LCAP. And then an increased focus on physical environments such as bathrooms, fields, and drinking water. Again, this is not a shock. We know people have been coming to us saying we need new fields. We had our students last year that came to us and talked about improving our restrooms. And then, unfortunately, we know that drinking water is a concern for the city of Calistoga, so we'll be working on that as well in relationship to filtered water filling stations. And then finally, parent engagement. Suggested improvements were for more parent-teacher interaction by offering additional opportunities for our parents at school that go above and beyond your traditional back-to-school night. The comments were related to getting more opportunities to show that there are more ways for our families to be engaged with their students' learning that go above and beyond just the traditional back-to-school nights. And then increased focus on parent-teacher relationships to benefit the students' learning experience. So what are our next steps? So we're going to share these out at the individual sites. We're going to push it out to our families. We are going to be looking at our metrics, the data and the actions for the new LCAP to see are there things that we want to continue to measure or are there new measurements that we want to add. And then I'll be presenting the draft LCAP at our June 3rd board meeting with an approval on our June 17th.
Any questions? Seven point one, Napa County Office of Education letter, second interim.
So I am Ms. Maureen Hester for the evening as well, so I have a lot of items. So this first one is our traditional letter that we get back from Napa County Office of Ed when we submit our first interim, second interim budget, etc. So for the second interim, they responded and said that we met all of the things that we needed to meet, that our multi-year projections show that we are deficit spending over the next 3 years, but that we can still meet our goals that we are saying in our expenditures that we're going to have, and that our cash flow is available, which is helpful when you are working in a community-funded district. And then they stated that beginning with this year, this is one of the new goals that we're going to have with our LCAP, is Palisades qualifies for the LCFF equity multiplier, so we will have a goal specifically related to Palisades because we are getting additional funding of $50,000 specifically for the students that attend Palisades. And that's what the letter says.
Thank you. 8.1, student representative.
Good afternoon. So to begin my report as of April, the month was very successful. In the 7th and 11th grade Avid classes, they had the opportunity to visit and tour Sacramento State University, where seniors who were admitted could join them on this trip. Also during April, we had the CASP testing, and now that that is over, teachers are now shifting their classes, getting ready for their final tests or projects. Now that May has creeped up on us, we started with the MIT class having a successful engineering extravaganza at the Venesery Vineyards, where they got a $45,000 donation and sponsorship from PG&E, as well as $70,000 from the auction and donations that the community members wanted to give. Currently, in the ASB class, we finalized the prom ticket sales last week to get exact numbers of how many students will be attending this weekend. We are also wrapping up our last deposits for the vendors coming that day. And lastly, for athletics, the tennis team has finished their season and made it to the championships, where they unfortunately lost. For the softball and baseball teams, their season is coming to an end as they hosted their senior night last week, wrapping up their last home games, as well as the swim team finally finishing their season. And this concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Do you know how many students are attending?
Yes. 96 students purchased tickets.
8.2, Calistoga Elementary School Principal.
That would be me again this evening. Wear many masks today. LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students. We are well underway with state testing. So far, our 5th and 6th graders have completed testing. Additionally, final MAP testing occurred for grades K through 2. And next week, 3rd and 4th graders will begin to, I thought they said to test it this week, right? Yeah. I think she wrote this last week. This week, 3rd and 4th graders begin testing, and then we're also finishing the LPAC testing for grade 2 as well. LCAP goal number 2, provide a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. Last month, they had their best character trait awards for positive attitude. In May, we will have our academic award ceremony and we'll celebrate the character trait of perseverance. This week, 5th and 6th grade students will be participating in outdoor education, with 5th grade students going to Marine Headlands and 6th grade students going to Yosemite. We're incredibly grateful to the board for their support of outdoor education. And then goal number 3, increase parent engagement and enhance communication. This month will be our last parent engagement meeting. She's pleased to share that we have maintained our numbers between 11 and 15 per month at each of those events. They held their jogathon on May 3rd. We had parents who helped with logging laps, filling water bottles at the hydration station, and spraying water on students. We also had help from Director of Food Services, Rosa Rubio, as well as Blue Zones. And then please save the date for Friday, May 24th for the 2nd annual Student Carnival. They'll be working to get parent volunteers and having volunteers help out at each of the stations. And I know last year for the first one it was a pretty big success, so we're looking forward to that event.
Just texting my husband about the carnival. I'm gonna make sure that's on my calendar. It's fun last year. Guess I'm taking Morals Kit too. 8.4, Director of Educational Services.
8.3.
8.3, Calistoga Junior Senior High School.
Thank you. Starting with number 1, LCAP Goal 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students. CJS is proud to report that on Friday, May 3rd, we received a letter from WASC, Western Accreditation of Schools and Colleges, that stated, it is the decision of the Commission to grant 6-year accreditation status through June 30th, 2030, with a mid-cycle visit during the 2026-27 school year. We are super excited to share this news with the school community. We appreciate the effort and reflection that resulted in this outcome. As we look ahead into the 24-25 school year, we will continue to make decisions and steps that will support the needs detailed in our WASC action plan. As the end of the year quickly approaches, we are working to support students who still need to finish their CASP assessments. Students only have 15 days to complete the performance task section of the CASP, and we aim to have them complete it before the test expire. We also are amidst advanced placement exams. Students taking AP exams have been working diligently all year in preparation for these exams. Last week we held U.S. History and Statistics, and this week, tomorrow, we have English language and composition, World History on Wednesday, and Spanish language and culture on Thursday. The goal is for all students to earn at least a 3 on the exam so that they can earn a passing score and gain college credits. Ms. Craig Morales is also meeting with 8th through 11th graders for 10-minute appointments to confirm student course selections and review credit status. This practice allows students to ask questions and get feedback on their academic progress, as well as talk through their long-term academic goals. In regards to LCAP goal number 2, provide a safe and healthy and positive school environment. Spring sports have now come to a close with some exciting finishes. Both junior high and high school track teams brought home some awards during their last meets, with one of our long distance runners winning the 1,600 meter race, approximately 1 mile, ahead of 15 other competitors. Another medal was earned by our sophomore student who won the 10-pound freshman-sophomore shot put event. Baseball won their last home game, which was also the senior game, against Tamales with an exciting win in the 9th inning. In swimming, one of our students took the win on the 50-meter freestyle race, and the boys team finished 4th overall, beating St. Helena 96-94. In tennis, one of our female players took the win in the 14-team bracket. Softball had their last home game of the season on Monday, May 6th, with a big crowd supporting the team. And last Thursday, May 9th, the junior high teachers took most of the junior high students on a field trip to Angel Island to learn about the history and immigration station on the island. A big thanks goes to the California Education Foundation for sponsoring this trip, including the tickets for the ferry ride, and which also includes entry to the state park. LCAP goal number 3, increase parent engagement and enhance communication and collaboration with parents and students. CJSHS hosted the first car show and family night on Friday, May 3rd. This idea was a brainstorm that originated with 2 junior high boys who wanted to have a car show on campus. With only 2 weeks to organize and plan the event, it turned out to be a great success. Additionally, parents helped to organize food sales, which created a collaboration of students and parents. We want to thank all of the participants for helping to create a family-friendly event on campus. That concludes my presentation. Any questions? And I did not mention the MIT event because I thought someone else would, but it was an amazing event, and thank you for everyone who went and supported it, both in presence and with their checkbooks or their pals.
The school's hosted some great social events the last couple weeks. 8.4, Director of Educational Services and Human Resources.
Okay, good evening. So I've always loved about working in schools the cyclical nature of the school year. The excitement about August, marking the time through the events that happen during the year. And it really feels like we're getting near the end of the year, right? Our spring elementary field trips started today. Our spring end of the year, staff of the year celebrations at the Napa County Office of Education is coming up on May 27th, where Lily Gutierrez and Larry Black will be recognized. And our end of the year events, the graduation ceremony, are around the corner. A few other happenings here at the end of the year. We have our final district committee meetings. I have 3 of those this week with Ed Tech, Summer Program Planning Committee, and Benefits Committee. We're wrapping up our state assessments. We're at 76% complete for CAS. We're at 96% complete for LPAC, so we're getting there. We need to get to at least 95% completion. That's at a minimum. We're wrapping up our summer school planning, and summer school enrollment is up from our last board meeting. We're up to 82% of last year's enrollment, and I think we'll probably get to around 100%. We complete our end of the year transition IEP meetings for our special education students who are moving from the elementary school to the junior high school next year. We're doing some end of the year hiring. Besides our 2 retirements, we're currently looking at 100% staff retention. That's amazing. We have a couple of positions to fill. We're currently holding interviews, but I anticipate, especially with our retention, that we will be fully staffed at the beginning of next school year. This is not a foregone conclusion at this point for any district. As I talk to my peers, being fully staffed at the beginning of the year and even throughout the year, it seems to be the exception to the rule for most districts. We really consider ourselves fortunate. And I think it speaks to, number one, the district's culture, that staff who are here want to continue to be here long term. It speaks to our hiring process, and that more often than not, we select the right candidates who are successful with us over the long term. And more than anything, as I reflect on this, this is good for kids. When students have a consistency in terms of their teachers and support staffs from year to year, who get to know the kids, their families, how our school works, these are all good things. So I'm really excited about our staff and the stability that we continue to have, and looking forward to next year. So Monica said it, and she should have, and I'm going to say it again because it deserves repeating. I say kudos to Monica and Carla and the whole school site for their 6-year accreditation with WASC. I would have been surprised, honestly, if it was anything other than 6 years. Because it's well deserved, and I think we all know that. When you walk on that campus, you feel it, you see it, you know the good work that's happening. But even with the good work, a tremendous amount of effort went into preparing for the WASC visit. Kudos to the whole site at Calistoga Junior Senior High School. And yeah, I think so. And then lastly, just a comment, because this came across my desk, I want to share it with you. We had 29 staff participate this year in the Social Emotional Learning Series with Napa County Office of Education. It's a voluntary program through NCOE where they do periodic, like monthly speakers and discussion groups. That's almost a quarter of our staff that voluntarily participated in this SEL work. And I'm thinking, I feel like we've moved out of COVID, thank goodness. But this is one of the good things that came out of COVID, right? Is this focus on well-being of students, of staff, and it's great to see that SEL is alive, and it's happening, and it's meaningful, and that our staff have an interest in this work. because it's good for them personally, it's good for the organization, and that's good for kids too. But we're as good as we can be as people and as educators, that's a good thing. And that's my report for the month.
Any questions? Thank you. No report from the Director of Business Services tonight, so we're jumping to 8.6, Director of Facilities Maintenance and Operations.
All right, so I'll start with the CES modernization. Just briefly touch on that. We did get DSA approval, so Landmark was able to go out to bid for the project. I'll talk further on that on the action item that's on the agenda. In regards to the FEMA work we've been doing, we've had quite a few meetings with our consultant. We reached out to a company that is working for FEMA right now on remapping all through the valley, but they're looking a couple years out before they have anything that would assist us. So the consultant wants us to take the path, or recommends that we take the path of something called an administrative floodway, which would take our section of river, or our section of floodway out of the FEMA's jurisdiction and put it in the city's jurisdiction. There's two things that we're still working on there. We still have to have some talks with the city. We've already brought it up to them. They're open to discussion and looking at doing that. But the second thing is to make sure that that type of floodway is something that DSA will let us do what we want to do, because the whole point of this is so that we can expand at least the kitchen area with walk-in fridge and freezer out there. The consultant we talked to did say that OSHPD, it's basically the DSA for hospitals, has approved building in floodways that are administrative floodways. So that one's a much quicker turnaround. I don't have an exact date, but I think it could be less than a year that we could have. I think the only thing we're going to have is FEMA's going to push back on it, but they think ultimately, given the situation, you usually don't have schools in floodways, so they're pretty confident that we can go that route, which would be key for us to move on with what we're doing with the elementary school. PG&E was out like they said they would be today, removing the transformer for the STEM building. We'll tear down the rest of that building this week. The demo crew is going to be out either tomorrow or Wednesday. We had a meeting last week with a geotech because we would like to use the existing soils that are on site. They've got a large high rock content in it, which is what is the concern. The geotech seemed like it'd be okay, but we're going to do some potholing, which is basically digging big holes so we can see the layer of soils. And he's also going to look at the previous blueprints and as-built of the building that we tore down to see what its footings are in and all that. Best case is we can mix the soil that's out there and reuse it. Worst case, I don't really want to think about it, but it would be removing a whole lot of material and bringing in a whole lot of material, which is not accounted for in our budget. So hopefully we have an answer this week on how it is. Maybe it's a one-story, it's not as heavy, I don't know. But hopefully we can use the existing soils we have and we won't have to go out. So
We're putting that out there.
what's that? Yeah,
That's where we're putting out the universe.
perfect. And will it happen?
That's right.
And then, so we did get comments back from DSA. One of those comments was to go back to our fire department, our fire chief. He wanted an additional hydrant installed. We did all the plans for that, got his sign off. It's back with DSA for back check. So we should have that here pretty soon, all approved and ready to roll. That's about the only thing I got right now. Any questions on anything else or anything to talk about? All right.
Thank you. 8.7, Superintendent.
Thank you. So I know that it was already mentioned, but I am going to reiterate. I want to thank Board Member Reed for donating his business for us to host the MIT Engineering Extravaganza. And I want to thank the board members and staff members who were able to take time out of their Sunday to come to the event. As was previously stated, the fundraising alone was close to $70,000 between our silent auction, live auction, and raise a paddle for Fund a Student. And then we were very fortunate that we had connected with PG&E and they donated an additional $45,000 towards our progress, which is pretty exciting. So we actually, all told, We needed to raise $100,000 to send our 32 students and their chaperones to Boston. And we had been advertising we wanted to raise close to $200,000 so we can continue this program in the future, that this isn't going to end after 1 year. And we have raised close to $175,000. So we're, yes, so give everybody a round of applause. I have continued to say this over and over again. Obviously, we are very proud of this work that our teacher and our students are doing, that we are the only school in the nation to be selected for both of these programs. And we are finally getting momentum for people to understand just how special and great Calistoga is. CBS came out last week and interviewed Ms. Brooks and 4 of our students, and ABC is coming out this week to interview them as well. And so fingers crossed this will end up on the local news. And then some newspapers nationally as well. So it's pretty exciting. Last week we hosted the Sir Optimus Awards Night, where they gave scholarships to our students, not only students going into a four-year college, but we also awarded in conjunction with the Rotary, so students from Palisades that are planning on furthering their education as well, whether it's at community college or at a tech school. Tomorrow night is the PK graduation, so if you're available at 6 p.m., we'll be here in the multi-purpose room, and we're going to be celebrating 80-plus parents who have attended our PK classes, which is pretty exciting. When this program was started during COVID, we had 28 parents, and every year we get more and more parents that are not only doing this once, but doing it multiple times. So it's pretty exciting. So when we think about parent engagement, that's a prime example of how engaged our families are in supporting their children and connecting with our schools. Wednesday is our Calistoga Community Schools partner meeting, which we hold 3 times a year, so Wednesday is the final one. Monday is a fire recovery day, so there will be no students in school on Monday. It's a no school day, but obviously those of us that are here still have to work. We will have our RFEP celebration on Tuesday, May 21st, also at 6 p.m. here in the multi-purpose room. And so all of our students that are being redesignated as English proficient will be celebrating them as a group on Tuesday and celebrating their parents as well as they support them on this journey. And then finally, Wednesday, May 22nd is our senior scholarship night. Last year, our students earned over $200,000, and I'm looking forward to seeing that number go even higher this year as we celebrate our graduating seniors as they go into the next chapter. That's my report.
Thank you. All right, moving on to section 9, consent agenda. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Roll call vote. President Rothberg Allen, aye. Clerk Reed? Trustee Lopez Jones? Trustee Rios? Trustee Gonzalez? Student Representative Rivas? 10 action items. Protocol action items include a staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. 10.2, board policies, administrative regulations, second reading.
So we're bringing back the board policy related to high school graduation requirements for approval after the first read last month and a period of time for input. We bring it back to you with no changes.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.3, updated district sunshine proposal to CSEA.
So we're currently negotiating with CSEA on the articles that we've opened or sunshine, and we've decided that we would like to negotiate Article 12 vacations, and so we bring it back to you and to the public for sunshine approval prior to negotiating with CSEA.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.4, declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
So the Declaration of Need, or the DON, is a required document required by school districts as a prerequisite to issuing an emergency permit or a limited assignment permit. We do this every year. We bring this to you as a kind of a precautionary measure should we have to hire an emergency permit teacher or a limited permit teacher. We've never taken advantage of it, but we continue to bring it just in case. One thing to note is that this document has really changed a lot over the last 3 years. 2-3 years ago, there was a really simple document. It was 1 page. It said how many teachers. I put a number there. And last year they added a few more lines, and this year it's actually become very complex, where it asks you to list the teachers you might need to hire for each domain. So in secondary or single subject, we say you might need to hire 1 English, or 1 math, or 1 science, should someone go on leave and we can't fill the position or something like that. And then so you add it all up and it says, well, we need 16 teachers. Obviously we wouldn't need an emergency permit for 16 teachers, but this just covers our bases. And again, we've never had to use this process, but should we have to, we want to make sure that we have this document on file.
Can I have a motion? Second? Rudy? All in favor? Aye. 10.5, lease agreement amendment for CES classroom modernization with Landmark Construction.
So back in March, the board approved our lease-back agreement with Landmark to do the CS modernization. As I mentioned, we have our DSA approval so they can go out for bids with the plans that are accurate. And this amendment just adds a dollar amount to that agreement of $3.4 million, which is right in line with our preliminary estimates. So we're really happy to see the numbers.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.6, addendum to the memorandum of understanding agreement with the Boys and Girls Club.
So this is an addendum to the memorandum of understanding that we already have with the Boys and Girls Club related to our ELOP funding, or Extended Learning Opportunities Program. And so we partner with the Boys and Girls Club to provide after school, to extend our hours to 9 hours a day. We get X amount of dollars given to the district to provide programming for all 100% of our K through 6th grade students. To have the day be 9 hours, and then to provide an additional 30 days outside of our normal 180 school year. And so we've partnered with Boys and Girls Club to do this. We partnered with them prior to receiving these funds because our students and our families utilize this great program and this great partnership. But what happened this year was, in addition to this, with the ELOP, the state sets a ratio specifically for kindergarten. And so there has to be 1 adult for so many students. And it's a smaller ratio than what the Boys and Girls Club is used to doing. And so due to that, they needed to hire an additional staff member so that they could meet those ratios. And since they only hired an additional staff member because of the ratio requirement and because of the program that we partnered with them, we will pay for that person. So we were adding this addendum to add an additional $25,000 to send to them for this year since they have hired the person. Next year's MOU will include that funding within the original MOU because we know moving forward they will have a staff member. So we're asking the board to approve this addendum.
All in favor? Aye. 10.7, dual language education of New Mexico, contract for investigation of dual immersion.
So this is the next step in our conversation. As we started this process, we had a parent who came to us and said that she felt that we should start investigating dual immersion for our students. She gathered close to 80 signatures from other parents. We then started going out to schools that offer dual immersion to learn more about the program. We went to the CABE conference to learn more. And then I presented everything that we had found and learned to the board and said that my recommendation was that we actually hire an outside consultant to continue this conversation to see if this is something that we as a district want and can make happen over the coming years. And so we went out and investigated 2 different consultants. And this is the company that I am recommending. They're out of New Mexico. There are 3 pages to this particular contract, and there are 3 steps. And we can continue to move forward through the process at any point, and we can stop at any point should we decide that we want to go a different route. The first portion of this is to actually do a lesson on what dual immersion is with a group of administrators, parents, and teachers who will be part of our task force, so that we all have a common understanding of what is meant by dual immersion. Things have changed over the last 20 years, and so we want to make sure that as we continue to investigate this process, that we all have a similar understanding and we're not talking 2 different talks. So that's the first part of this. The second part of it is for them actually coming out and doing a site visit, talking with our stakeholders, whether that's our parents, our board, our staff, as well as coming and seeing what's occurring on campus. And then the third part is up to 20 hours working with the task force to talk about whether or not if this is something that is feasible or not. And again, this is an investigation. There is no decision that is made. This is an opportunity for us to have an outside person come to us so that we are not practicing confirmation bias and we're seeing data from both sides and we're having an open dialogue on the pros and cons of a dual immersion program. So we're recommending that the board sign off on this next step in this investigative process.
I just had a question. How long is this 3-step process supposed to be, or how long do they estimate it takes?
Around 6 months. So they wouldn't start until August, and then it would be about 6 months for us to move through the entire process.
And then do you report to the board after each step?
Yes, so then we would get a report from them, we would come back and share with the board and with the staff and the community members on what information we've gathered and what recommendations they may be making.
Does anyone else have any questions? Can I have a motion? Second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. AB 1200 disclosure for 24-25 Calistoga Associated Teachers.
So the AB 1200 is a requirement that we have to put forward as we finalize negotiations related to salaries. And so AB 1200 states that for certificated, the cost of 1% is $99,452. And that the bargaining unit group has a negotiated cap for health and welfare benefits that has been increased. That effective 7/1 of 2024, CAT salary schedules will increase by 3%, co-curricular salary schedule increased by 3%. When CAT members sub for a period, they will receive $70 per period rather than the original $50. And effective 7/1/2023, teachers needing to pack up their classrooms will receive a $500 stipend. And that's because we had some teachers who packed up to move into the condos at the junior senior high school. And then we have the elementary school staff that will be packing up for the CES modernization this summer. Negotiated changes in non-compensation items include a CPI trainer at an MOU, which is an action item we will be discussing shortly. And then Article 2.1 for staff development days, we added a reason for being able to miss staff development days at the beginning of the year due to supporting the college entry and admission needs for an immediate family member. They would be able to use a personal necessity day to take their child away to college if need be. The contingency language includes that for the 25-26 reopeners include salary and health and welfare benefits, as well as 2 additional articles of each party's choice. And 26-27 would only be reopened for salary and benefits. So we're asking that the board approve AB 1200.
Can I have a motion? Second. Thank you, Rudy. All in favor? Aye. 10.9, tentative agreements between Calistoga Joint Unified School District and the Calistoga Associated Teachers.
So these are the TAs or tentative agreements that we made during negotiations with CAT. I'm not going to go through each one of them line by line, but I will say that there are 9 different articles or sub-articles that are that were updated through negotiations. They're in the board packet. And that's a lot of work. And I think it signifies kind of the successful relationship that we're able to take a good contract and make it better and refine it through some additional changes this year. But we bring these tentative agreements to you for approval.
Can I have a motion? Second? Thank you, Rudy. All in favor? Aye. 10.10, CAT salary schedules.
So these are the salary schedules for certificated staff members that have been updated as a result of the final negotiation agreement. So we're asking for the board to approve these new salary schedules.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.11, memorandum of understanding with Calistoga Associated Teachers.
This is an MOU regarding the compensation for a CPI trainer. A little bit of background, CPI stands for Crisis Prevention Institute. They have a training, a whole series of trainings that deal with working with students who have escalated behaviors. And it ranges from verbal de-escalation, so how we talk to students, even kind of how we position our bodies when a student is really upset, to de-escalate them, all the way to physical restraints or holds. We as a district, we don't train or support physical restraints, but we see a lot of value in verbal de-escalation, and we also do some training on what's called disengagement, meaning if a student were to grab you, how do you kind of safely remove yourself from that environment, short of putting that student in restraint. These are very valuable trainers. We are fortunate to have someone on our staff, a certificated teacher, who is certified to train. And this MOU details how that trainer and certificated staff member is compensated. It essentially says that they can take a half a day's worth of time of relief from their classroom, with the sub covering their class, so that they can be in preparation for the training, or they can take that 3.5 hours and instead of doing it during the day, do it outside of the day for additional compensation. That's the MOU that we present for.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.12, disclosure 2024-25 unrepresented units.
So this action summary discloses the cost to increase the unrepresented salary schedules by 3.87% for the 24-25 fiscal year. In past years, the unrepresented units of certificated management, classified management, and confidential employees have received a me-too increase to salary schedules dependent on the compensation increase negotiated with either the certificated and/or classified bargaining units. So this action summary discloses the cost to increase the unrepresented salary schedules by 3.87 for the 24-25 school year. The unrepresented units decided to apply the total compensation received by CAT to salary schedules only for the 24-25 school year. The health and welfare district contribution cap for these units remains $10,200 annually or $850 per month. The funding source is our general fund property tax revenues. The cost is the salary increase for unrepresented units is $71,657. Payroll benefit increase for these salaries is $15,553, with a total compensation cost increase of $87,210. So the staff recommends that you approve this motion.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.13, unrepresented salary schedule 24-25.
So these are the salary schedules that have been updated as a result of this final negotiation agreement, so it includes the 3.87%. So we're asking the board to approve these new salary schedules.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.14, addendum to superintendent's employment agreement.
This is part of the addendum to the superintendent's employment agreement, or section 2B of the superintendent's employment agreement. They shall receive the salary increase in the same percentage as is provided to district management employees, including directors and administrators. This action summary discloses the cost of that increase, which is 0.887%, equivalent to the salary increase, again, given to management employees for 24-25 school year. This brings the superintendent's annual base salary to $253,187. This cost breakdown includes an increase in salary of $9,433 and an increase in payroll benefits related to salary increases of $1,689 for a total cost of $11,122. This is the addendum to the superintendent's employment agreement presented for approval.
Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. 10.15 Brookwood Equities LLC DBA Brookwood Partners for real estate management consultant services.
So we have spent this past year having conversations about what we want and or can't do with the Gallus property, knowing that it is an empty piece of property, and there's many opportunities that could occur with that property. So based on recommendations from the board, we put out an RFP, a request for proposals, to reach out to various real estate management companies that work specifically with school districts to analyze the use of their property and to determine what are potential uses or what direction the school district wants to go with those properties. And so we put out the RFP. We had 5 firms that submitted applications. We interviewed 3, and the team selected Brookwood Equities. We have Principal Alan Katz here representing the firm. And we worked with them on developing this contract. And so what this contract does is it's about a 4 to 6 month process in terms of investigating what we want to do with that property. So there will be interviews that they have with board members to determine what our goals are. There will be conversations with the city to see what their goals are. And then they will make recommendations as they move along the process. And those recommendations could be anything from do nothing with the property, to sell it, to lease it, to build on it, develop it, to talk about workforce housing. There's a plethora of options that can come from this investigation. So similar to the dual immersion investigation, this is an opportunity for us to determine what is in the best interest of the district, as well as what is in the best interest of supporting our larger community. So we're recommending that the board approve this contract with Brookwood Equities.
Any questions? Can I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. All right, closing items. 11.1 board member reports.
Already been discussed about the NXT fundraiser for the fund and given that it's successfully run with our folks, I think, so great.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that I thought the event was really great, and it's just really exciting and rewarding to see how our community really supports this district. Laurel and I also went to the Napa Ed Foundation dinner on Friday night, and it's great. Our district is so supported, but this whole community, this whole Napa Valley is really supported, and it's really exciting to see. Anyone else? All right, 11.2 board member calendar. The next meeting is June 3rd. A tentative future agenda items, the budget, local control accountability plan, and board self-evaluation. No need to reconvene to closed session. And can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.